Welcome back to part 3 of Feck TV's Education Special. We have a special guest on with us for this one. We've got Breed Heffernan. We've said that secondary schools and universities are pretty fucked. So we're now going to talk about whether two fucks can make a right. We're going to talk about what happens afterwards. So I'm going to jump in with our first question. Does uni prepare people for life after it? And I'm going to go immediately to Breed.
Oh God, does university prepare people for life after? I think it does, and I think that that's probably the benefit of having the summers when you have to work and you have to get used to supporting yourself or whatever. But again, it all depends on the person. If you're someone who's been sitting there failing every exam, repeating 3 times, scraping through, probably not, but you're probably not going to get the best job in the world then.
You're talking about working in the summers. I suppose not everyone actually does that. It's something that you did,
yeah.
but not everyone does that. Possibly a bit of a criticism there.
Well, something else that I think is relevant in terms of looking at whether or not it prepares you for life afterwards is the use you get out of your degree. Now, I did history and economics, and I haven't yet worked as a historian or an economist, but do I think it was a good idea to do a degree and to do a master's? Absolutely, and it comes down to something, the piece of paper that you get at the end of it, okay?
Well, what's that piece of paper actually worth? I suppose is what we're going to dig into.
Believe me, I'd actually say that it's worth a lot to me. And one of the reasons for saying that is because I had friends who didn't have those pieces of paper, who would have left school at 14, this kind of a thing. Their lives went off in all sorts of directions. I mean, like one of them ended up in prison, for example. So he, in particular, would have always said it to me about the value of the pieces of paper. And certainly, I think it opened up doors to me.
Once again, I'm going to jump in with the man shaking his head on the end there. The man
so
who left school at 14.
What you're actually saying here is that the reason to get a piece of paper is so that you don't go to prison.
No, I didn't say that at all. I used that as a very extreme example, absolutely, but it's a true example. Definitely, you know, most people who don't have degrees don't go to prison. Most people who drop out of school at 14 don't go to prison. But certainly, maybe it's a case of the emperor's new clothes here.
But you know what I noticed? The day I finished college, right? Years of slog and crap and labour. The day I finished college, I remember crossing the road outside college thinking, oh my God, it's all over, it's done, it's tied up. I'm worth so much more than I was yesterday, is what I thought. I had this like new level of self-esteem, this new belief that I was actually worth something because I had this piece of paper. I actually realised I don't want to be hit by a bus. I don't want to die. You know, all these sort of things. Like I've actually really worked for something and I've got something to show for my life. And whether that is shallow, that I show what I have for my life by having a piece of paper, I don't care.
But it doesn't have to be in a piece of paper. It could be in anything. It
doesn't have to be a piece of paper. Yes, it could be in anything, but to be honest with you, a piece of paper does help. And if you look at the actual stats, the figures, people who do have an education, who do have a high-level, third-level education, they tend to live longer. They do tend to take better care of themselves.
That means they're costing the health system more fucking money.
Hang on a second, I'm going to bring Breed in. I'm going to bring Breed in on this, because you were shaking your head there.
Something interesting that I have found is that some people who haven't got these same qualifications and things, they value their lives differently. As in, some people will have a child young and say, oh, now I've got this amazing thing that I'm responsible for. This is what I've created. I don't have a child young, and I say, this amazing degree is what I've created. And that's what I value, life on, my degree. And like, I'm sorry that some people think it's only a degree.
No, I think it's for something to be very proud of. I've no issue with that at all. I mean, I remember when I got my first business up and running and it was successful, the day that it got over the line and you could say, this is working, and you turn around, I got the exact same buzz as you.
I'm just going to bring us back here. I'm just going to bring us
and
back
it's not
here.
To knock your
really,
degree.
We're drifting off topic. Barry, I'm going to tell you to shut the fuck up for a second. We're drifting off topic here because the question is really, does uni prepare people for life after it? And I want to explore a little bit about that. Does it give them the social skills that they need? Does it give them the nous to go into business? Does it give them those skill sets to get there? Or are we seeing, you know, frankly, I don't see a load of poets out there. You know,
however, I think it really does. I mean, I actually use my law degree all the time. There's stuff that yeah, well, I am a lawyer, but there's stuff that I would never have, you know, done. I've specialised in and things, and I still think, oh, geez, I did that from first year in college, like all these things. And I mean, assignments. You look at it now. I do like assignments. Remember when you were in college, an assignment was 3,000 words, and you spent 3 hard weeks trying to get 3,000 words.
Yeah,
now you do 3,000. Now you do 3,000 words in work, and it was just a letter to someone.
Okay, so look.
So you build your ability to work.
Okay, that's fine. Let's jump in here. Along the same topic of this, really, do people actually use those bits of paper that you've both been talking about here? Do people actually use those degrees in their actual jobs? Barry?
Well, Bree just said before we get on that you reckon 60% of people do, and 40% don't.
Well, I did a poll of my own friends, and 60% of my friends do.
Small poll.
A small poll. It only had about 10 people in it, but this is what I had.
6 out of 10 cats preferred.
Yes, it was the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
But 60% of my poll do use their degrees. But it was interesting because then I looked at the other 4%, completely not related. And one was a girl who'd done social care, for example. She finished social care, went out, got a job, realised she hated it. Like, this is it. This is why JobBridge, I reckon, has taken off as well. I reckon there should be practical work built into degrees. As Aisling said in your earlier show. Then you get a taste for what you're doing, and then you don't have people taking advantage of unemployed people, giving them €50 a week for a hard week's work.
But realistically as well, another question that should be asked is, even if you're not using the degree in your job, does it get your foot in the door somewhere, in some way? The fact that you've got something at the age of 21, 22, 23 to show for yourself, some sort of an achievement.
Because I don't have a master's.
It actually does. You know, you do use your degree in your job, if only to get you into the job, if only to get your foot in the door. And that's a good thing, that's a valuable thing, instead of pissing around for like 5 years.
There's some jobs I would be fantastic at. Like, there's some lecturing jobs, there's things like this, certain law firms. But I don't have a master's, so I'm automatically not able to apply because it's a requirement. And then, sorry, go on.
Sorry, but the point I suppose we can come back to on what you've just said, Jay, is that whilst it gets your foot in the door for some people, the fact is that, you know, Ireland, you've got tons and tons of people coming out with degrees, huge amount of people. Has the degree itself therefore been devalued, and do those people need extra skills to actually work, to actually survive in the world of business? Barry, you're shaking your head.
No, I don't agree that they need extra skills. I think I mean, let's face it, they're after 16 years through schools and third level. Now, if you after 16 years, there's nothing wrong with getting extra qualifications. Absolutely, I have no issue with that. But to need them, it's not a question of needing them after 16 years.
Hang on a second, I've got to cut you off there, because frankly, the fact is that certain jobs do need degrees. You can't.
No, that's not what I said. No, that's not what I said, Chris.
Come back then, okay? Please.
That's not what I said.
Please do.
I said, you asked the question, do you need further education after your degree? Isn't that the question?
No, that wasn't the question. My question was, have the degrees themselves been devalued? So do the people need extra skills other than degrees?
I would agree. You need a party trick. You need a party trick to get a job nowadays. It's not enough to have a great degree, a great master's, whatever. You need to have a party trick or know someone.
Or intelligence.
But that's not enough. As someone said to me the other day, jobs you're applying for where a few years ago 10 people would have applied and you'd be selected out of the 10. There's now 300 people applying for that same job nowadays.
Are we talking now about lying on our CVs there?
I think so. I think largely.
So you're
I think the way the foot in your CV is something.
Have you ever looked at a friend's CV
and across the board?
Have you ever looked at a friend's CV and said, you didn't do that?
Absolutely, every single time.
What, are you trying to say that I'm not a world-class tightrope walker? Because frankly, I will prove you wrong.
I've seen him only fall off once, that one time.
Out of curiosity, how many languages does your CV say you speak?
My CV? Let's see, English, Irish and French.
Do you?
Oui, essaye.
I'm the exact same. I speak English, Irish and French too, and Spanish.
I just want to bring
I've got like 3 words of each of those.
You know what's interesting?
Do you want to bring Barry back in?
Do you know what's very interesting? People that I've interviewed, right, and for different jobs, and I've taken on a lot of people over the years, probably in the region of a couple hundred. When I look at a CV, I always look at what they did outside of their degree. Yeah, I never look at the degree. Ever do I look at the degree.
So you're
no, you see the degrees there, but I don't look at the results.
So what you're saying is that you're not bothered about the degree, you're bothered about the person.
I'm bothered about somebody went off and did 2 years work in charity, or somebody went off and they were working to get themselves through college, which means that they've an ounce of common sense about them, things like that. That's what I'm watching for, not the degree itself.
Which is something that universities are actually pushing through for people now, certainly even before the extracurricular activities. They've always been there, but they're pushing it far more now because, again, going back to devalued things.
And I remember when I was in college, the people getting these really cool, like the well-off people have parents sending them out to America for a year to work in an attorney's office or to work with prisons in America trying to get people off death row. Deadly, yeah, sure. Have you got 50 grand for the summer? So, I mean, I think that's an elitist thing again.
Actually, one other side to this that we haven't touched on at all is that there are friends of mine who did degrees in like medieval history, in philosophy, all these things that, yeah, but look, these are things that a lot of people would look at and say, this is complete bollocks.
Yeah.
We still love you, Jim.
And it's not.
Actually, funnily enough, a friend of mine who did, I think it was fine art or something as her degree, she ended up working in Bank of Ireland. What it did for her is it got her into the graduate recruitment program.
Okay.
And that, for a lot of people, is going to be the way of the future.
Hold on a second. I'm just going to hold on a second. What you're saying here, Jay, really is that I want to ask the question to all of the panel here. Should we be letting the jobs dictate the degrees?
PayPal just had to get 500 people in from abroad to fill their jobs because not enough people could speak languages. That is a disgrace. 500 people coming from abroad because we can't fill the jobs. There's 1,500 IT jobs unfilled. And why is that? Because our people aren't qualified properly. Sure, we've got people who like to design software and things, but they can't do the real jobs we need in IT. We say IT jobs. IT jobs means a load of different jobs. To the average Joe Soper, the average layman, IT is IT, but it's not really. We need to focus.
If somebody didn't design them, what would be there to build? Somebody has to design them.
But I'm saying we have to get our people in abroad because we're not making the right courses.
The matchup of skills available in Ireland with the jobs that are available in Ireland.
That is what we need to do.
That's what you're talking about.
Because this nonsense of people going off doing basket making courses and things, not that I'm knocking the people who make baskets.
I was going to say, frankly,
everybody needs a basket.
Everybody needs a basket.
It's on your CV, dude.
It's on my CV, basket making, weaving, all sorts of things, tapestries. But I want to come back to the businessman that we've got down here. I want to come back to Barry as the businessman, the person who dropped out of school at 14, who has this set of skills, who's now employing people. Barry, if I'm going to be coming to you for employment, I've got this piece of paper, I've got this degree, I've got a few things extracurricular around me, but what I want to say really is, if I've got all of that, if I've got these extracurricular things, if I've got that, is that going to be a better situation for you to employ me in the long run, or would you prefer for me in the case to have trained myself for the job that you've already posted, say, 4 years in advance? Would you want to put those jobs out there and get people trained into them? Would you let the job dictate the degree?
I think that would be definitely a step forwards to do that. Again, it depends on the person. Again, you know what I mean? You're then interviewing a person 4 years ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, the figure's actually 4,500 people were short in the IT sector at the moment, right?
I've got different figures.
But anyway, you know, figures will change.
Just even to take it out from just between ourselves, we just had a comment on Facebook from someone called DB Mark, who says, education is not broken down, people are choosing stupid subjects to study. He also says a lot more, but I can't really read it out. But if anyone wants to get in on that discussion, it's on the Facebook page. He's got words that I won't even use.
Yeah,
but
this is his
point.
Whoa, let Breed finish her point, please. What was your point at the end of that, Breed?
That was all.
That was all.
No, but it's stupid subjects. It's stupid subjects, and it was that other people agree with me.
Or not enough choices.
But look, there's two other aspects to this as well that we haven't looked at all. One is that the jobs market is changing so much and so quickly, and the skills needed. It means that you won't know in 4 years' time what skills are needed exactly.
You will.
Not necessarily. And there's a second point to it as well. To be fair, there is one second point, which is there are upskilling courses that you can do. You do a degree in whatever, and then a year after that, you have like your diploma in IT or in a specialised part of IT that you need to get those.
Hang on a second,
I am
going to bring Barry in here because he was saying no.
Look, in China, I was in and out of China all my life, and in 1999, 2000, I was saying to everybody that I knew that was young, you need to if you're going to study a foreign language and you want to study a foreign language, study Chinese. 4 years ago, I think it was, or 3 years ago, they brought in Chinese onto the curriculum. China is where everything is happening in the world. That's where everything's moving forward, and it took them 15 years later to bring it into the curriculum. I mean, that I'd like to be able to say, look, apps and web developers. There's, people learn to develop. Then the apps come in. Now there's only it's very hard to get app developers. We can't the industry knows what we need now, and now, in 4 years' time,
absolutely.
Roughly.
Now, if the industry knows, and I think you're right on that point, if the industry knows, would not one way about going about this be to retrain those out of jobs at the moment, those people who haven't got the employment, who haven't got these set of skills, but could have the potential, and potential is the most important word here, to do these things? would a scheme that brings the unemployed back into the education system and gets them into the jobs that are needed today be the better thing? Tell me more, Jay.
Yeah, this is actually happening. I know, let's say, several friends of mine, they would have qualified as teachers, all these different kinds of things. They couldn't find work in it for whatever reason. So what they've ended up doing instead is going into, through FOSS and through, let's say, EMC, for example, getting trained to work in software development. Cloud computing is one of the expanding things in IT at the moment, and people are being taken on board who have absolutely zero background in IT.
That these people are actually doing this instead of sitting on their arses feeling sorry for themselves. Because we've got heaps of people who've got all these wonderful, wonderful qualifications and they can't get a job in it for some reason. So they're sitting on their arses for years, and the longer you leave a degree, the more out of date it will go, the longer you will be unemployed, the worse your CV will look. And I also think that we need secondary school teachers and all the idealists around the world to stop saying, focus on the job you want to do, choose the course you like. Realism. I did an article on Feck TV a few weeks ago
and I would like to read that article, and I'm going to put that out to a lot of people. We're going to come back here now. We're going to go on to Barry's final thought. Tell us, you had a final thought about how we're going to solve these issues, Barry.
Well, I disagree with Breed in as much as saying that you force people into IT because we need IT people. I think that there's a very good case to be made where you encourage people and say, look, there's 4 or 5 areas here which are going to be hot. Could you kind of choose one of the 4 or 5 of those?
What was your final thought, Barry? What was your thing?
My final thought is this whole education system in Ireland is completely and absolutely fucked up and needs to be turned upside down in the space of weeks, and could be done so in the right man's hands.
Join the debate. Join us at fecktv.com. Check us out on Facebook. Get writing in. This is going to keep running and running. Thank you very much for joining us for all 3 parts of our education special. I've been Chris Bennett.
I'm not finished.
Jay Kelly, and I'm not finished either.
And that's Barry Murphy. Thank you very much. We're out.
Thank you.